You're watching Newsroom on SABC News. Warm welcome to everybody from Johannesburg here in South Africa. My name is Eben Jansen. The show is broadcast live every weekday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. Highlights are repeated at 2 in the afternoon with a rebroadcast then at 5 a.m. the following morning. We're also streaming live on YouTube between 9 and 10 a.m. every day with the entire show available on our YouTube channel all of the time. Week 2 of the Oscar Pistorius trial sort of closes today as the nation starts to feel the load of this case, or overload as some have put it. We'll try a little bit different take on it later. Then, canned hunting is shooting a lion in its cage as a trophy. Send us your views on that. We'd be interested to know on our Facebook page. And it's Derby weekend. Chief Pirates will give you a look at our online program for that important match. First, here are the news headlines. Flooding is keeping emergency services busy in different parts of the northwest and Limpopo provinces. The Bloemhof Dam in the northwest has reached 80% of its capacity, and Mogwaze near Sun City is the latest place to be affected by floods. Meanwhile, the town of Bela Bela in Limpopo and surrounding areas were flooded yesterday when a dam wall gave way. The first police officer on the scene where Oscar Pistorius shot and killed his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp, will continue his testimony today. The trial enters day 10 in the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria. Former police officer Colonel Scumbi van Rensburg will continue describing to the court what he and other police officers saw when they first entered the athlete's house in the early hours of Valentine's Day last year. And Cricket South Africa's chief executive, Arun Lorgat, did not bribe journalists. This was the finding of an independent investigation set up by the International Cricket Council, which cleared Lorgat of allegations levelled against him. This regarding the Future Tours program, the ICC and the Board of Control for Cricket in India. Now, Oscar Pistorius' Pretoria East home will remain under the spotlight at the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria this morning. The state's 13th witness, former Lieutenant Colonel Scumbi van Rensburg, was one of the first police officers to respond to the scene after Pistorius shot and killed Riva Steenkamp on Valentine's Day last year. Pistorius has pleaded not guilty to 4 charges, murder and 3 for contravening the Firearms Control Act. Van Rensburg's testimony gives a picture of what Pistorius' home looked like an hour after the shooting. State prosecutor Gerry Null questioned Van Rensburg about allegations by the defence that some of Pistorius' items, including watches, were missing from the house. It's day 10 of the trial in the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria, where the first police officer on the scene where Pistorius shot Steenkamp on Valentine's Day last year will continue testimony. To get the latest, we now cross to our reporter Griselda Lewis, who is waiting for us outside the High Court. Good morning, Griselda.
Very good morning to you, Eben.
Very interesting times in this case. Just give us your thoughts on what you think should happen today.
Well, Ewan, this morning we were expecting the cross-examination of Scumbi van Rensburg to continue. You will know that he's the former station commander at the Boschkop police station, which is really under the spotlight at the moment with regard to how a crucial crime scene evidence was actually stored at the Boschkop police station. You'll know that Scumbi van Rensburg really resigned under a dark cloud in December last year after allegations that he had stored this all-crucial door, which is under the spotlight in this case, a critical part of the evidence. It's alleged he had stored that door in his office for about a week, where everybody had access. You'd know that police procedure dictates that evidence should be basically under lock and key, and that there should be controlled access. Yesterday we really saw, for the very first time, very graphic images of exactly what the scene looked like on the morning that Oscar Pistorius shot and killed his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp. Really graphic images that a lot of the media really had to inform viewers about before we could actually air those viewers on the various news bulletins, including on the SABCs. So really an idea of how Riva Steenkamp was lying. We got a first glimpse of the weapon itself yesterday. Also, basically what the bathroom looked like where Riva Steenkamp's body was initially before Oscar Pistorius had taken her downstairs. So graphic details at the moment that are coming through. Oscar Pistorius unable once again to contain himself. Oscar Pistorius started vomiting again as he hears yet once again of exactly how investigators found the scene on that morning.
It's the end of the second week, Griselda. Just run us through the high points and low points of the past 5 days in court.
Well, even the past 5 days, it's really been issues relating to high emotions, both inside and outside the North Gauteng High Court. I say this because you would look at the witnesses that have come to the fore. Number one, you looked at Samantha Taylor, Oscar's ex-girlfriend, really painting a picture of an Oscar Pistorius that you and I don't know. An Oscar Pistorius who they claim has a love for guns, who they say has no regard for the rule of law. Basically character witnesses who have given us information or claim that Oscar Pistorius is not the person who we all think he is. We know Oscar Pistorius as South Africa's golden boy who's went on to defy the odds and represent South Africa very well in athletics. But the picture that they paint, and so has Oscar Pistorius' friend, Darren Fresco, he also went to paint a picture of an Oscar Pistorius who is trigger happy and somebody who has a very violent temper. Darren Fresco, you would recall, also shed a lot of light about the other charges that Oscar Pistorius is facing, those relating to the contravention of the Firearms Control Act, where Darren Fresco was present on both occasions when Oscar Pistorius discharged a firearm in public, where he did so allegedly through the sunroof of a moving vehicle and also at an upmarket restaurant underneath the table. So very interestingly this week, we saw the crime scene. It's becoming clearer what exactly was inside Oscar Pistorius' home on that morning. We're also getting to hear about Oscar Pistorius, the other side of Oscar Pistorius, who his close friends and ex-girlfriend say they know better than you and I do. So, also very critically, one of the most important points here is the spotlight that has really been put on the South African police service, how they collect and store crucial crime scene evidence. The shift of this case is really going towards South African police service, where forensic analysts who we've spoken to say that it's not the first time that the South African police service has been cast in the spotlight because of alleged unprocedural ways of collecting evidence and even storing it, things that could further jeopardize serious cases in this country, not just the one relating to Oscar Pistorius. So, the shift moving there. We're also hearing about other alleged incompetence. You'll know that yesterday and the day before there was crucial focus that was put on the missing splinters on the door, that Oscar Pistorius' toilet door, and what happened there. You would know that Colonel Johannes Vermeulen could not answer about the missing splinters of the door, and basically couldn't say why that there were additional marks on the door that were there, that were not initially there when this door was stored in the police facility.
Thank you very much, Griselda. That is comprehensive, as always. Griselda Lewis coming to you live from the North Gauteng High Court in the capital here in South Africa, Pretoria. Just to recap, Oscar Pistorius returns to the North Gauteng High Court this morning for day 10 of his murder trial. The first police officer on the scene where Pistorius shot dead Riva Steenkamp will continue his testimony today.
The first glimpse inside Oscar Pistorius' home after he shot and killed Riva Steenkamp.
There was a body lying down which was covered with hand clothing, and there was also a blood which could be seen there.
This is the testimony of Colonel Skumbi for Rensburg, a former station commander at the Boschkop police station. He was in charge of the crime scene. A trail of blood. leading to the place where Pistorius shot Steenkamp dead. Inside the bathroom, more traces of blood. Then the cricket bat, a bloody towel with the weapon, and a cell phone. Colonel Skumbi van Rensburg is expected to face grueling cross-examination by the defense over why he left the police service. He'll also have to answer to allegations that he stored the bathroom door, a crucial part of the case, in his office against police procedure. Earlier, police again came under fire. More allegations of incompetence. And also allegations of police misconduct at the scene. The defense questioned why, when it was crucial to the case, Pistorius' prosthetic legs had not been examined.
You had the prosthetic legs, just do the test.
My lady.
To see what caused that mark.
This is the mark the defense lawyers claim was the result of Pistorius kicking the door with his legs on. This will support a defense assertion that Pistorius wore his prosthetic legs before he banged down the door. The trial continues. Manqoba Mchulu, SABC News, Pretoria.
It's day 10 and the end of the second week of this trial, and South Africans, like most people around the world, are suffering a little bit of overload. So we'll try and ask a different question this morning. How has Oscar Pistorius' trial been for business? We look at the economic implications of Oscar Pistorius' trial. A large number of journalists covering the trial at the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria is no doubt a lucrative avenue for local food and accommodation providers, says Johannesburg-based economist Lavan Gopal. This was after a restaurant near the court sold 700 chicken dishes, 80 portions of ribs and 400 chicken burgers on the first day of the trial. Now, Lavan is with us in studio this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Interesting take on that, but it's more than just that. There's another side to it, isn't there?
There's a number of fractures from an economics point of view. The glaring obvious points that you've mentioned is the economic footprint with the large media contingency that's available to cover the trial. And so it's their flights, their accommodation, their food, as you mentioned. Also, it creates quite a bit of spin in terms of legal fees. Now remember, Oscar Pistorius' estate, which was quite a large estate while he was an active sports star, is now going to be allocated to big legal fees.
Yeah.
Some of the senior counsels that are in practice in the Gauteng area could charge between 30 or 40,000 rand per day. And then you must include the fees for attorneys. There's a variety of reimbursements. So his legal bill could escalate to as much as 100,000 rand per day, depending on the number of days that this trial continues. Obviously, the state has also got an expensive bill. Many people forget that from the very second that this crime was committed, the police services were involved.
Yeah.
And there's a cost associated to that. The national budget has got a cost associated to the justice system. Employing state advocates, employing a variety of expert witnesses means that both the state as well as Oscar's defense team will have to be paying for the services of these various experts to come through to court to give their testimony.
Yeah.
So all of that starts to weigh on it. Very, very interesting is the fact that something like this puts South Africa back on the spotlight.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, I was in your studio and we were talking about Madiba, and some of the issues that were discussed was the fact that South Africa was put in a positive light again from an economics point of view. And this again brings South Africa to the forefront.
Yeah.
Remember, we're compared with other African nations, and there's a variety of legal statuses that these countries have.
Is there a positive economic spin-off from a positive like our judiciary being judged well and to be in good working order?
It certainly is. So that's the point that I was hoping to make. The rule of law in South Africa, the fact that justice is being done, means that South Africa comes across as an equitable financial destination. And when we compare ourselves with some of our peers on the African continent who are making a variety of laws about, let's say, gays and homosexuals, for example, or making laws with regards to opposition political parties. It shows that South Africa, with a fine constitution and a rule of law and the ability to then try people regardless of their status.
Yeah.
So it does put us in a very positive light from that point of view as well.
How do the likes of the Twitters and the Facebooks and these people who are getting so much traffic, how do they benefit financially from this kind of trial?
Look, there's a number of benefits that media is going to take from this. I know that a number of radio and TV satellite channels are dedicated just to the Oscar Pistorius trial. And so there's all of the advertising revenue that's associated with that. And, of course, all of the work that it creates for journalists, for cameramen. So there's that spin.
Yeah.
But very importantly is the fact that international outlets like Twitter are now involved. And for the very first time, we're able, on a second-to-second basis, to get information about what's happening in a courtroom, what is the latest information, and that has impact. So you might find that a Middle Eastern newspaper carries a front-page story about Oscar Pistorius, and that's really as a consequence of what they've read on Twitter. So a very deep range of ramifications within media as well.
Well, Evan, we could go on and talk about this a little bit more, but we've run out of time. Thank you very much for joining us today. Brilliant. A different take, or a different look. If you're suffering a bit of overload, we're trying to just maybe change the angle a little bit and see what else is out there. Of course, social media, the big spin-off, it's been trialed by social media, some people say. Actually, we've got a stat that says the word guilty appears 8 times as often as the word innocent on social media. Let's take a look at what you are talking about. Ayanda says coverage of the Oscar trial makes up about 45% of local news content. Politicians not too happy as they fight for election-related airtime. That is absolutely accurate, Ayanda. The interpreters in the Oscar trial is appalling. Had ample time to get translators. Ladybug, you're a little bit behind the game. That's we are a week on here. Times move fast in the news business. Emoyeni, Deco and Cuisine, says, I'm of the view that Oscar first tried to break down door with a bat, then shot Reva. Would explain wood door splints in her body and the screams. I have no opinion on that. I will wait for the judge. Diale Freddy says the Oscar Pistorius murder trial is expected to continue until April the 4th, says a member of the prosecuting team. Your views? My view is that I think it will go on beyond that because there's a lot of work to be done still. This weekend, will give the nation some relief from the Oscar Pistorius trial. There'll be no coverage, no live court cases, and change the focus to some sporting action all round. So Formula One starts, but there's a small football match, the mighty Amakosi against the Buccaneers, the happy people, the Sea Robbers for some, or just the people's team as we know it. It's Chiefs against Pirates, with the PSL front runners hoping Pirates are good enough to reopen the league. These are just some of the golden moments of yesteryear. We chose to show a goal, a Kaizer Chiefs goal, just to keep the studio crew here very happy because they're passionate Kaizer Chiefs supporters amongst us. And of course, we are Baka for life. On Facebook, we'll be running some of those videos from yesteryear and some other stuff, as well as some of the goals. So go to our Facebook page if you want to see what's going on with the big derby tomorrow when Chiefs take on Pirates. Also, a lot of other news, all the stuff from around the world. Well, after a short break, we're going to look at canned hunting. That's where you shoot a lion in a cage for a trophy, stand on the corpse, and hopefully take a few pictures on your Facebook. That's how they do it. We'll look at that after a short break.
Capitec Bank is asking why to simplify banking. Do you know what your bank costs are?
I don't know, but I know it's too much.
What, 65 rand?
Between 200 and 250.
I don't, but I know it's too much. It's too much, yeah.
Why don't you switch banks?
Switch?
Yeah, way too much of a hassle, my man.
We help 100,000 people open accounts at Capitec Bank every month. If you haven't joined us yet, ask why.
Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Sphumelele Zondi.
Currently, we've got 3 apps that we've developed: the Q Marshall app, a commuter app, and a taxi association app.
The Chinese e-commerce company Alibaba Group Holding has decided to pursue an IPO in New York. Safaricom wants to introduce M-Pesa to Kenya's popular matatu industry. This will enable commuters to pay taxi fares using mobile money.
That's Network, Sundays, 7:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back. This is Newsroom. People from 44 cities around the world will tomorrow march against lion trophies in the growing canned hunting industry. The global march has been initiated by South African wildlife activists to highlight the plight of lions caught up in the canned hunting industry. There are fewer than 4,000 lions left in the wild here in South Africa, but more than 8,000 are in captivity, being bred for the bullet or the arrow. Now, to talk about the big march in Cape Town tomorrow against canned hunting, we are joined in Cape Town by the Director of Frontline, Dr. Peter Hammond, and the Director of Four Paws Animal Welfare Foundation, Fiona Miles. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Hammond, if I can start with you and just tell us a little bit about tomorrow's event.
Tomorrow we're going to be marching for lions against this absolute national scandal of canned lion hunting. We're starting at 10:30 outside the Cape Town Technicon and marching from Kaiserkroeg Street through to Parliament. The important thing is to stop this plundering of our wildlife resources, allowing this corruption of canned lion hunting. I don't know what hunter can find any honour or any challenge in shooting a captive lion specifically bred for hunting in a effectively limited, restricted area. They either are some circus lions that have been retired or some lions that have been bred in captivity. And this is an absolute disgrace and scandal. And to think that we're allowing foreigners to come in and plunder our wildlife resources, this has to stop.
Fiona, if I can bring you in. Terrible practice it is, but just tell us, how many lions do we have, or how many lions in South Africa are waiting for the bullet right now?
In South Africa, there are more than 8,000 lions in captivity. They are specifically being bred to be hunted, to be shot, to be traded, to be manhandled and cuddled. And these animals are living a life of complete suffering. They are born, they are taken away from their mothers at a very young age, after 1 or 2 days. They are used for the joy of cuddling with, and people are coming in from overseas. They're paying a lot of money to be conned. They are convinced that these animals are orphaned. They are being convinced that these animals are actually going to be reintroduced back into the wild. And of course, that is not the case. Once they get too big to be manhandled, they are then sold on for further breeding or for hunting.
What kind of what kind of further revenues, Dr. Hammond, do you get from these kinds of... Is it a fact that lion bones are now being sold on in China and the Far East as well? Is that the trade that sort of adds on?
This is an industry, it's a corrupt, cruel industry, and we're afraid that, yes, there's every kind of exploitation, abuse from the cynical, come and cuddle a lion for conservation, whereas actually these lions are actually being bred for trophy hunting in restricted areas to people who now want to give themselves the impression that I'm a lion hunter. What is the challenge? It's like shooting fish in a barrel. These lions are not wild, they're effectively tame.
It's pathetic, really,
yes,
to be honest.
They are being sold.
It's pathetic.
There's all kinds of sales, especially in Asia, of lion products. So this is a corrupt thing. Basically, we see our natural resource is being plundered. A live lion is more valuable to the South African economy in tourism and job creation than a dead lion for some trophy hunter.
Now, Fiona, tomorrow a memorandum will be handed over to government officials, I understand. What do you hope to achieve with this? And also tell us your engagements with government on this. It's been banned in other countries and in other parts of the world. What is the engagement locally?
I think there's very, very little support locally. The government has not been interested in addressing the situation formally and properly and looking at a long-term sustainable solution for more than 8,000 animals. This is a huge amount and a huge number of animals. There's no magic wand that will be waved and suddenly the situation will be fixed. But there has to be a very clear commitment from government to take this matter on, to face it head on, and to support the organizations that are now standing together to say that we cannot allow this suffering to go on for these animals any longer. It is an absolute shame, and South Africa is renowned for its beautiful heritage, for its wonderful wildlife, and that is something that the government now needs to invest its resources in. And there are many people, including a huge number of millions of people around the world, who would support South Africa and support the government in taking a firm decision to end the suffering for these animals.
Dr. Eben, just carry on and tell us about the sort of threat that lion farming has to wild lion species and prides and so forth.
It is a terrible threat because what we're seeing is the same kind of plundering of our natural resources as with the rhino disaster. It's an absolute scandal to think that we've gone from 7 rhinos being poached in the year 2000 to over 1,000 last year. And the wildlife conservation experts I speak to on the ground are outraged. They are convinced there is corruption to a high level. And that's also true for the canned lion hunting. Just as we're seeing the rhinos being wiped out, we're seeing wild lions being wiped out because the people moving these lions into this industry of cuddling for foreigners and then shooting for trophies, this is basically depleting our natural resource of lions. We've now got double the amount of lions in captive programs in South Africa as in the wild, and that is an absolute scandal.
Thank you very much for joining us today, Director of Frontline, Dr. Peter Hammond, and the Director of Four Paws Animal Welfare Foundation, Fiona Miles. People from 44 cities around the world will tomorrow march against lion trophies in the growing canned hunting industry. All around the world, at least 44 cities after all. Time now for us to take a look at what's been happening online. And it's been another busy week. Good morning, Bongi. Thank you for joining us.
Morning.
Oscar Pistorius, give us a quick overview. Everyone's had enough.
Okay, well, there's a special report on the website where you can go and you can get all of the analysis, all of the profiles, and obviously all of the latest news. You can go there to access our live streams and our live coverage. We've got those also on that page. So, yeah, it's all there. But like you're saying, we're getting a bit weary of it now. Yeah,
after 2 weeks, I think there's fatigue. I saw an interesting online search was done, around the word guilty versus the word innocent. And 8 times as often guilty is being used as innocent.
Yeah, I think like that came through with what the media's busy doing. And I don't know are we setting the agenda now? Are we trying to move it in that direction? I don't know if we should be, but this is what's going on.
Oh, it's just, I think the court of public opinion has already judged Oscar guilty, it seems, if you look at what's going on social media and so forth. But it's for the courts to decide, and I think we are fortunate that in our country we have a judge that's qualified to make the right decision.
Yep.
More important match is football tomorrow. The Buccaneers against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are hoping that, the league that they won a month ago is going to be intact still after tomorrow. I can see them cringe. What's the response on social media so far?
Well, people are there. With soccer fans, I don't know what happens. I think it's kind of like the people who are watching the Oscar trial. Sometimes things just go completely out of control. Yeah. We have asked people on our Facebook page, to give us their score predictions. Yeah. And it's been interesting what some of them have to say. I mean, like some of them are predicting a complete thrashing. There are some who are saying...
where?
Well, I'm not going to say because, people will say that I'm setting the agenda. But, they are for either side, really, 2-0 or 1-0, or it's going to be a draw, unfortunately, which is, I think, what's been happening with some of these derbies.
Okay, well, flooding is the big story also now around South Africa, with many lives lost and lots of property damaged and so forth. Is it really as bad as it looks?
It is as bad as it looks. We put together a story file with just pictures. and what you see, the devastation, people that are going through. And unfortunately, it's always in the poorer, less well-developed areas.
Yeah.
You know, the things that happen, well, this isn't a poorer, less well-developed
we're
area.
losing
This is
some
a road
roads.
somewhere. We've lost roads here.
Yeah.
Look at that. People using public transportation. Look at what's going on with the buses and
Wow,
everything.
man.
You know, Billa Billa today is underwater. It's a disaster,
It's
really.
incredible when provincial roads are just washed away.
Look at that. It's, you
And
know,
these are schools, and I'm sure a lot of schooling must have been
Yes.
completely affected all over the country.
And how does a child get to school now? You're walking in water,
Yeah.
you're wet, and your classroom is washed out.
All your road is
I mean, look at
is
this, the
cracking up.
destruction that's going on. You ask yourself, was it poor construction, or were the rains really this heavy that they could have done this?
No, we can't blame the government. We can't blame the rain on the government also, you know. Let's not blame the rain on the government also. Okay, there we have at least a happier picture, people canoeing or using the facilities, as it were, in Lepalale. Eh?
Yeah, but you can see that, you know, it's not some imagined thing. It's quite serious.
Yeah, it's very serious, and it's affecting thousands and thousands of lives out there. Heavy rains the last couple of weeks here in the northern parts of the country, and lots of flooding happening all over. Now, the Malaysian plane is still missing. Has it been abducted by aliens?
You know, there's so many conspiracy theories regarding this plane. Nobody knows where it is. First of all, then it veered, of course, this morning. We're hearing that the plane might have actually gone down somewhere in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
This was a picture gallery that we got of pictures of when the news first broke. Like, they were showing, like, obviously the families, people quite upset about it. The rescue, the search and rescue aircraft that was going to go out and try to find this plane, or at least try to find the people. I think people are coming to realize that the chances of finding survivors are very, very slim at this point, unfortunately.
It's really a story that sort of gripped the world a little bit. This plane disappears in thin air, and people are talking about explosions, hijacking, but it's all speculation. Nobody really knows.
Nobody knows. Somebody was just saying that people are just coming on, these experts are coming on and finding different ways of telling us, I really don't know.
Well, maybe it disappeared into a black hole.
Perhaps.
Well, thank you, Bongi. Thank you for joining us this morning. The court is in session, we've been told. So thank you for joining us and giving us an update on how we're covering Oscar, how the plane was lost in Malaysia, and how SABC News will find it. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. But let's go to the North Gauteng High Court, where day 10 of the Oscar Pistorius trial gets underway now.
Om seker te maak